And I just want to say, let's please give ourselves a round of applause, give you a round of applause for the incredible work you do all year. So before I fill you all in on our coalition's big announcement and some few other logistics for our meeting, I wanted to give our special guests, who happen to both serve on our executive committee, a chance to say a few words. And so Governor Hochul, we'll start with you, and then we'll turn to Governor Meyer.
No, we just want to thank all of you for joining us here during one of the slower weeks in New York City. If we didn't have congestion pricing, it would be a lot worse. I just want to put that out there. So, no, we're happy to be here and to participate once again, and with a greater sense of urgency than perhaps even when this was first initiated. I don't think the first Trump administration, exercised the powers that they are now. Last I checked, they hadn't shut down offshore wind when they were first time around. They're doing things like that. It's affecting all of us and our energy capabilities and our ability to use renewable clean energy to do what we have to do to power our states. So, no, I'm looking forward to the conversation and I appreciate everybody's work. And great to see my fellow governor from Delaware, Governor Meyer, joining us as well.
Great. Governor Meyer.
Great, thank you. Thank you to Governor Hochul for welcoming me and welcoming all of us back. And thank you to Casey for what you and your team is doing every single day. To everyone around the table, thank you for what each of you are doing for America. As Casey referenced, these are challenging times to do the work that each of you are doing in your state. There's significant blowback throughout the media environment just about every day on simply doing the right thing for kids and families and for our future. And I simply wanted to personally say thank you. I'm someone who used to live in New York and used to have to deal with the UN General Assembly week traffic, and my one piece of advice is ride a bike. It's good for the climate. It's good for your health.
Executive Director of the U.S. Climate Alliance. For the reporters who just joined us in the room and those watching along online who may not be familiar with us, the Alliance is a bipartisan coalition of 24 governors working hand in hand to secure a net zero future here in America through bold state-led climate action. Our coalition got its start back in 2017 when the federal government first yanked us out of the Paris Agreement. The Alliance's founding governors knew then that we in the states, when we work together, have the power to continue tackling climate change no matter the headwinds. We were quite literally built for moments like this. And more than 8 years later, I'm really proud to say that the state of climate action in the states remains strong. All across our coalition, governors are continuing to lead with ambitious policies, programs, and investments. Now, this group already had a chance this morning to huddle with one another, but we wanted to take a moment to share with you how we're strengthening our ties, how we're protecting our progress, and yes, how we're pressing forward. In the room today are top state officials from Arizona, California, Maryland, Massachusetts, Maine, New Jersey, North Carolina, Washington, and Wisconsin. And sitting next to me are two governors who are on the forefront of our climate work as members of the Alliance's leadership team, New York Governor Kathy Hochul and Delaware Governor Matt Meyer. And I'm going to start by introducing someone who you all know well, someone who's led the charge for us at Climate Week for 4 years running. She has been a stalwart champion for clean energy and lower costs, and she continues to set the pace for the rest of the country. And as part of her remarks, she's going to be sharing a very special announcement on behalf of the Alliance. Governor Hochul.
Thank you, Casey, and thank you all who are joining us here today representing this coalition of forward-thinking representatives from 24 states that banded together really to show the world that despite what occurs in Washington, going back to 2017, we can still band together and have a profound impact. And that was really the birth of the Climate Alliance, which I would submit today in this era is more important now than ever before because the attacks are more incessant. And I would also say that reflecting on what happened yesterday when our president called the climate crisis the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world before the UN General Assembly, what we do is we gather and we become even more dug in our commitment to lead the rest of our country despite the absence of leadership from Washington. So there was a con job, but from a con man. And I also would say that he made some reference to we need to let us work together to build a bright, beautiful planet. So say what you will, we will do our work, and we will build that bright, beautiful planet because we are committed. So let's hold him to that. And so now this group working in collaboration is urgently needed. Our democracy depends on this collaboration. No one individual state has the influence to have a real impact on what is happening with emissions in our climate, but banded together, the strength of one is what's making the difference. So we are proving, the Climate Alliance states are proving you can cut emissions and grow the economy at the same time, which is what naysayers were certain was not possible. And a year ago, the Climate Alliance announced a commitment to train 1 million new apprentices across its states and territories by 2035. We are holding to that commitment. We're doing our part in New York. But also today, we are really proud to announce that we have achieved a 24% reduction in emissions for our 24 member states. That is ahead of schedule. It achieves the goals that we had set out back in measuring ourselves back to 2005, a long time ago. This was set forth a few years ago. But to be able to achieve this goal of a 24% reduction at a time when the numbers were escalating to go down 24%, clearly within a range of hitting the target, which was set for 2025, which is 26%. These are 2023 numbers. So I have no doubt in my mind that when we look at the 2025 numbers, we will have more than exceeded our goal of 26%. So that is enormous. So we should be proud of that and celebrate that and talk about that back in our home states to know that what they've set out to do was achievable, and we're going to continue building on that success. So first of all, we build on the momentum Secondly, we'll innovate new methods of going forward, and then really have to spend way too much energy fighting back the damaging policies out of Washington. This has certainly been a growth year for our lawyers. Can't tell you how many cases that we're involved with to push back on the Trump administration, but certainly anything related to climate, we'll continue to devote the resources to do what is necessary. So let me just give a snapshot of what we're doing here in New York while the federal government refuses to protect us. We will continue to build a healthy and safe future for our people and our planet. And this year, I announced the Sustainable Future Program, which is the largest single climate investment in New York history, a $1 billion commitment for decarbonization, clean energy, and climate resilience. We're putting that money to work in every part of people's lives. At least $50 million will go to Empower Plus to help families transition, building heat pumps and making their homes more energy efficient to help reduce their costs as well as their consumption. To date, we've already had 5,700 home upgrades and saved millions of dollars for our families and energy costs. We'll put another $50 million to our Clean Green Schools program to make our public schools healthier and more efficient. And for our state university system, we're investing $200 million to help our publicly owned building phase out off of fossil fuels, and $150 million for our Green Small Buildings program to help upgrade housing as well. So we also want to focus on emission-free buses, $250 million for that, vehicle charging stations, expanding our infrastructure at workplaces and apartment buildings, as well as securing another $200 million to accelerate multiple renewable energy projects. So that's what we do with the $1 billion in New York. And we're committed to this. And it was bold, and it was had a big price tag, but the price tag for doing nothing is even greater, in our opinion. So this was an investment well worth making. And we're also thinking about how to bolster our energy supplies overall. And we are committed to being very ambitious. And on June 23rd this year, I directed our power authority for the state to plan the first advanced nuclear plant in a generation. And I'm going to continue that we have access to our Solar for All program, as well as, meanwhile, in 2027, we're on the cusp of bringing in 20% of New York City will be powered by hydroelectric power brought down by Champlain Power Express that I announced during my first Climate Week when I was a brand new, unexpected governor back in 2021. So this is something I committed to do, and we're almost done, and this is going to be extraordinary. And again, weaning ourselves off the fossil fuels. And some of you may have seen the news we had to fight hard to save our offshore wind project that preserved thousands of union jobs. And also, we are on the cusp of completing this, the Empire Wind Project, and we'll be powering over 500,000 homes in Brooklyn next year. And so it's still going to happen now because we're able to find the path forward, but I know there's other states, particularly New England, that's under attack, and we're here to stand with you to help thwart those efforts and to show that it is a viable form of power, it is renewable, it is clean. We want to make sure that we continue these investments in offshore wind. And as I said, we'll continue to challenge that in court wherever necessary. And again, I want to make sure we have the workforce. We talk about all this development, all these projects. It's extraordinary. But we have to have people who are trained in the skills that are necessary. We announced that last year through this alliance, but also our energy, NYSERDA awarded $5.1 million to support, again, our offshore wind workforce. We've trained almost 1,000 people. We've launched our Offshore Wind Training Institute with $20 million, the largest private investment in workforce development of any state, and that has now certified 2,500 workers, which is why I'm going to keep fighting any efforts to shut down offshore wind, because now I have the workforce, the investment's been made, the private sector has done their part, and so this is critically important for us to maintain the work that's been done, and we hope to continue doing in the future. We also see climate action and advanced manufacturers as partners. We don't have to have a hostile relationship with them. And so we put $300 million towards something called the Power Up Fund to have power-ready sites with clean energy to attract companies to New York. It is overwhelmingly successful. People want to go where it's already shovel-ready, but also power-ready. power ready with the power we want delivered to those sites. And we are holding up our polluters accountable for their grievous mistakes of the past. It's something I'm well familiar with, having grown up within line of sight of the Bethlehem steel plant in Buffalo. And as a child, I thought the skies were supposed to be orange because that's all I saw was the smoke billowing out of the smokestacks there. And the Lake Erie, one of the great freshwater lakes in the world, absolutely polluted. The dead fish everywhere on the beach because they were being killed by the discharges from the plant into the water on a daily basis. So that's where I grew up. So I'm from birth an environmentalist. And so in 2024, I signed the Climate Change Superfund Act, shifting the burden of paying for climate change mitigation off of New Yorkers to the fossil companies themselves. I know only one other state, I believe Vermont, has done that as well. So, of course, it's being attacked in court, but what's new? Every time we try to do something ambitious or to stop something bad, it ends up in the courts. And back in 2022, I announced that we had a $4.2 billion environmental bond act to help protect our natural resources. And so I just want to say we're doing all this, but we cannot lose sight of the fact that affordability is critically important. I don't think that was part of the conversation as much as it should have been in the past. It is now front and center on people's minds as the costs of tariffs are being felt. The inflation is not abating despite the promise that prices were all going to go down on day one, as would utility prices. So we're still waiting for those commitments. But we're continuing our programs to help people with credits, helping pay their bills, and with the Inflation Reduction Act rebates, which make energy rebates more accessible. So I just want to say this. We just refuse to be derailed by this. And we just must hold firm and continue creative ways, as we've done, to protect the environment individually. I encourage others to look at our success with congestion pricing as well. We're the only state in the nation, the only city in the nation that has undertaken it. We can certainly have the opportunity to explain how it all works. But as much as you want to complain about the traffic this week, it would have been worse. Since we launched this last January, there have been 17.6 million fewer rides into our targeted zone, our district, and that has resulted in extraordinary reduction in emissions in our city, and we can feel it. People are breathing easier. I know there's going to be a reduction in asthma and a whole lot of other ailments, but it is working, and we're so proud of that, and we're using the investments from that, the dollars raised, into investing in our public transportation system, our buses and rail lines, and that's the synergy of all this. It all goes toward a cleaner environment. And we're also fighting alongside this California Defend the Clean Air Waiver Act. We're focusing on that. And we're joining other states with the Affordable Clean Cars Coalition, advancing environmentally friendly cars. So lots going on. We're proud of what we're doing, but we never rest on our laurels here in the state of New York. We're always driving ourselves hard. I want to recognize Amanda Leftkin, my Commissioner of DEC, who has a national reputation already, and her entire team and everyone at NYSERD. I have the smartest, the best, and the brightest. I'm so proud of those individuals because together we're going to make sure that we lead as a nation, and our 24 states banding together, the collective talent around these tables is what's going to continue to set us apart as we smash even more records that we set for ourselves. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Governor. New York really does continue to show that even as the federal government tries to stop measuring pollution, tries to deny science, tries to obstruct climate action, that we in the states are relentlessly pressing forward. And the new pollution reduction figures that Governor Hochul mentioned are a demonstration that when we come together and set big goals and take big action, we build healthier communities and a stronger economy. And that's exactly what the other governor next to me is doing as well. He is one of our coalition's newest members, but he sure has hit the ground running. He joined the Alliance's leadership team less than 6 months after taking office, and he's already set big goals for Delaware, including strengthening resilience against climate impacts and achieving net zero emissions for state government operations by 2030. Governor Meyer.
Great. Thank you so much to Casey and the Climate Alliance, and for everything you're doing every day to protect Americans who live in the 24 coalition states and Americans who don't live in the 24 coalition states. Thank you, Governor Hochul. As a new governor, it's an honor to sit here and hear the tremendous accomplishments you have. As a former New York City resident, I can say that the week of the UN General Assembly is a fabulous time to ride a bike in the city. And your congestion pricing plan makes that even easier, as you mentioned, with so many fewer trips, and compliments on today's weather as well. In Delaware, we give the lieutenant governor credit for the weather, but the weather today is fabulous. It's a great day for a bike ride. I happen to think every day is a great day for a bike ride. But listen, states are leading the way these days. Let's just tell it to you sugar-free. The reality is that the federal government has made decisions not to lead, to leave people behind, to put communities that are at threat of flooding, at threat of pollution, at threat of continued emissions increasing. The federal government today is continually choosing billionaires over the people. And the people around this table are determined to push back on that and do what is right. And so, first of all, thank you personally for making the decision to pursue this. I know it's not, if it's anything like my seat, I've only been in a few months, but it ain't easy. There's a lot of pushback. But what each of us know is that ultimately, when push comes to shove, we are fighting for working people and working families. We're giving working people and working families a shot. One of the biggest industries in Delaware, as I know it is in New York, it's hard to remember here in New York City, but it's farming and agriculture. And if we don't do what we need to do as leaders in the face of a climate that's changing rapidly, our farmers suffer. They don't just suffer in terms of health, they suffer economically. If we don't do what we need to do in terms of the generation of alternatives, of renewable energy sources, people suffer. The health of our communities suffer. It's real. And we see that in Delaware. Delaware is the lowest lying state in the country on average, about 60 feet above sea level. We have a coastline that floods regularly. When there was a hurricane that came through that was on the Weather Channel for 2 days, that was going to be a bad hit, it turned the other way. It wasn't a big hit. Our roadways still flooded, hundreds of miles away from the eye of this hurricane. And that isn't just an inconvenience. It's not just something that affects homes, flooding, which it does. It has serious economic impact. The irony is many of the federal decision makers today who are denying climate change are coming to vacation in Delaware beaches, and we get complaints from them about this flooding, of which I think they are in some way, shape, or form a cause. So for us in Delaware, priority number one under my administration is climate resilience, particularly in those coastal, low-lying areas. We're innovating new ways to reuse pavement that's semi-pervious and doing some creative things, making serious investments in our future. We don't look at it as an expense because we get serious economic return in our coastal and beautiful beach areas. I know no one around the table lives in Delaware now, but you certainly should think about vacationing at our beaches. They are beautiful. We're also looking at an energy package that truly puts people before politics or before profit. So much of what we see now about energy policy and so much of the president's energy policy is really dictated by billionaires trying to make a buck. And we got to do the right thing, and I agree with Governor Hochul. A lot of it's about wind and solar. How do we make investments? Investments that many states like New York and Maryland and Delaware have been making for years to build a sustainable energy infrastructure. It's magic for me that we can take the wind and solar and turn it into lights that we can use, energy that electrifies our industry. In Delaware, we like to say we're interested in anything and everything. We put together a task force just in my short time as governor to look at nuclear. We plan to plow forward with nuclear, with the zero emissions energy that's going to have an impact for the future, a positive impact.
We recently were rated #1 in EV infrastructure. We still may not be the most popular to say now. I'm still a fan of electric vehicles. I think no emissions vehicles have a significant place in our future. You mentioned clean cars, Governor Hochul, and it's absolutely essential when we look at transportation infrastructure, we make sure we are making the investments, not just in the vehicles, not just giving Americans incentives to purchase vehicles that are better for our environment and better for a climate future, but also looking at roadways and making sure that they're safe for people like me who bike to work sometimes. So in closing, let me just say this. At a time when our federal government is choosing not to lead, is choosing profits over people, it is inspiring for me as one of 24 governors in this alliance to sit with all of you to say, no, people really matter, and we're going to make the hard decisions and the hard investments to provide a future for this country that will last for generations to come. So thank you.
So much, Governor Meyer. I feel really fired up. Thank you for those energetic remarks. So I know we've got a really limited amount of time left, but I do want to hear from a few other folks in the room. We've got leaders here from our two co-chair states, Wisconsin led by Governor Evers, California led by Governor Newsom, and folks all across our coalition. By our count, since launching the alliance more than 8 years ago, our members have advanced more than 2,300 actions and policies to tackle climate pollution and build resilience to climate impacts. And despite all of the obstacles thrown at you, you are finding ways to get things done. And I think we'd all benefit from hearing just a little bit more about your latest actions. So maybe we're going to do like a bit of a rapid fire. We're going to maybe start with Secretary Yana Garcia from California. What's the latest from California?
Thank you. Thanks so much for the opportunity to be here. Thanks to the Alliance for the incredible progress and the progress report. On behalf of Governor Newsom, I want to start by saying that we're extraordinarily proud to co-chair this alliance and extraordinarily proud of the progress that we're showing we can all make together. And consistent with that progress, I want to share just a few top lines of what we've passed just recently as last week. Most notably, California just extended our Cap and Invest program. This is a program that is critical to our ability to continue to reduce greenhouse gas emissions while we grow our GDP. It's also an extraordinary source of funding to support communities in the renewable energy transition and to support infrastructure and jobs, job creation to the tune of 122,000 green jobs that we've created in California with the $33 billion that have come from our cap and trade program since its inception, something we're extraordinarily proud of. It's also helped us to build out our renewable energy capacity. 67% of retail electricity sales in California are now renewable. We're incredibly proud of this progress. Again, while the federal administration continues to try to show that this progress is not meaningful for communities, not working, we are proof points that this is in fact working and is what our communities need to build a more resilient future. Finally, I want to just note, to the point of building resilience capacity, addressing wildfire risk, we are also looking at ways to continue to streamline wildfire resilience projects, hoping to continue to prove that in the West Coast in particular, where we face extraordinary risks from catastrophic wildfires like what we saw just earlier this year, our communities really need this support, and we're providing project streamlining for many of these projects. We're also continuing to provide transit and affordable zero-emission vehicle options for our residents, and that's something that we also work with this alliance to achieve and, again, show proof points of. So very proud to be here, proud to be a member of this coalition and co-lead this coalition, and very happy about the progress that we're making collectively. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Secretary Garcia. And I think we want to hear next, while we're out west and also with one of our founding states, would love to hear from Director Casey Sixkiller of Washington, here representing Governor Ferguson. What's the latest from Washington?
Well, thanks, Casey. Thanks so much to the Alliance for having us here today. On behalf of Governor Ferguson, it's great to be part of what just a fabulous conversation and to hear about all the efforts going on around the states. Governor Ferguson and our department, the Washington State Department of Ecology, recently announced the launch of Zevergreen. This is our new statewide effort to help Washingtonians save money by expanding access to clean vehicles and to continue reducing pollution. The effort, which comes in response to the Trump administration cutting off support for zero-emission vehicles, kicks off with a series of workshops across our state to help formulate policy ideas going into our 2026 legislative session. So we're very excited about this effort and continuing Washington State's leading role in clean vehicle technology adoption.
Great. And we'll give the last word today to Secretary McElwain of Maryland. Would love to hear the latest from Maryland.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. I really appreciate being here on behalf of our governor, Governor Westmore. I could go on and just really talk about statistics and all the great things that we're doing. I'm going to stick to one thing that I know the governor is really proud of, and so am I, and that is just recently the governor signed an executive order advancing environmental justice for our state's communities that have been overburdened with pollution for way too long. The executive order establishes an interagency advisory council, and that council's role is to support local governments and to also find opportunities for them. And it also, which I think is really important, the executive order mandates that every single agency they are required to designate an environmental justice officer in their agency. That is something that has never ever happened before, and I am so happy about it. We're also mandated to develop a strategic plan that's good for 2 years and ongoing, and so I'm just really proud of that effort. Thank you for
Thank you so much for your work on environmental justice. I know that was just a tiny sample of the work underway across our coalition to confront climate change, lower costs, create more good-paying jobs, and build safer and healthier communities. Unfortunately, we do have to leave it there today. But before we close, I do want to acknowledge some of the others in the room with us today. We're joined also by Commissioner Sean LaTourette of New Jersey, Chief Melissa Hoffer of Massachusetts, Director Maren Mahoney of Arizona, Winona Wolf of Wisconsin, Sarah Curran of Maine, and Jonathan Mock of North Carolina. Thank you so much all for being here today and for all that you do all year round. For more on what they're up to, invite folks to please take a look at our website, our policy database, and today's press release. Thank you again to everyone today who joined us here in person, to those following along online. Happy Climate Week, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.